Ahmed Sitki, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about me. So let's start right at the beginning. I was born in Cairo, Egypt, and when I was 6 months old or something, we moved to Atlanta, Georgia. I grew up there till I was about 10, and then we moved back to Egypt. And I remember around the age of 12, I was very fond of business and the idea of selling and making money. And so I started my first business at the age of 12, selling rice around in the neighborhood. So taking my bike, going around, knocking on people's doors, and selling rice to them. I got a real rush out of that. And 2 years later, I started my first real business, importing games and selling them. So my friends and I, we had two little kiosks in the only two malls in Egypt at that point, and we sold video games. So we played a lot of games so that we know what we're selling, and we sold video games there. I owe a lot to my dad. My dad had a software company back in Egypt, and so I grew up really learning how to program, learning how to lead teams, learning how to animate. So I worked at my dad's software company for a bunch of years, and then his software company grew up and sort of expanded to become a factory. So, in true sort of Arab culture, your son leads the way and learns the business. And so I was trained in lean manufacturing and learned how to run a factory. And this is all, I think, sort of by the age of 16 now. And so I went to Switzerland, stayed there for 4 months, learned how to actually run the factory from A to Z and how to really, build a lean process for manufacturing. That really sparked my interest in process management and sort of lean. And so a few years later, graduated from college as valedictorian. I worked in Egypt's leading telco, Link.net. I started their mobile app division. And then a couple of years later, I decided to pursue my PhD and my master's. So I flew back from Egypt to the United States, and I started my graduate studies at Virginia Tech. Now, a little bit of a sidebar here. I arrived to Virginia Tech on September 9th, 2001. And so, literally 2 days before September 11, that's when I came to the US. And as a Muslim, living in the US at that time, I'll be, honest with you, my life changed that day. And that really began my journey of learning and teaching and public speaking because I felt at that point that, my faith was really hijacked and misrepresented in the media. And so I pursued a journey of learning more about Islam and teaching it to others and helping people understand what are the misconceptions about it and what's this faith that people have really hijacked at that point in time and what it really meant to me. And really that started my journey of public service as well. I became the vice president for MSA National, the Muslim Student Association nationally. So overlooking, hundreds of universities and the student activities in the U.S. I pursued my studies in computer science. My master's was in requirements engineering. And I remember sort of after finishing that, we had my path sort of drawn out to finish my PhD also in requirements engineering. But I went to my advisor and I told him I can't continue this. And he said, why? And I said, well, honestly, just, everything I'm learning is so theoretical and it's so far from reality. Again, given that I've been sort of in the software and delivery fields for years before that. And he said, so what do you want to do? And I said, I'd love to invent or discover or create a process that actually works the way people really work. And I remember him, James Arthur, saying, good luck. I don't know if that exists. And so that really started my journey with Agile because at that point, I stumbled on the Agile Manifesto. I learned about it. I fell in love with it. It made total sense to me. And so I pursued my PhD in Agile and Agile adoption and agility assessments. After graduating, I worked with AOL for a year. And then I decided to establish my own consulting company because, again, I wanted to do more with Agile and help more companies become agile. In 2009, I published my book, Becoming Agile in an Imperfect World, that I co wrote with Greg Smith. And in 2010, I co founded the International Consortium for Agile, IC Agile, with Alistair Coburn. And really, that was sort of the impetus for that was to advance the state of agile learning and make it beyond just Scrum or any methodology, really make it more about the mindset, the values, and principles, and what people need to learn and the different journeys people need to take to truly become agile rather than just do the mechanics and rituals of agile. Over the years, my consulting company grew. For 10 years. We had over 20 consultants. We helped the agile transformation of large companies and government agencies, from Verizon Wireless to USCIS to Caterpillar, Nationwide, Booz Allen, just to name a few. And then in 2013, I met Riot Games. They were one of my clients, actually. And I was fascinated with what they do. And I have a separate video about how I joined Riot Games, so you can watch that in my AMA channel. But long story short, I decided to join Riot Games, sold the company back in the East Coast, and then moved to the West Coast, joined Riot Game as their head of development management. And then after a couple of years, I became the chief of staff for the CEO. And now I am the head of business agility for Riot Games. I love my work at Riot, and even though I'm not a gamer as compared to many other Rioters, I love its mission around customer centricity and around being the most player focused game company in the world. That energizes me to be able to serve a customer with that much passion and build an organization that's truly agile, not just from a delivery perspective, but a complete business agility perspective. That's something I'm honored to be part of that journey and part of that team. This idea of business agility is something I'm very, very passionate about. And so to spread that more around the world, in 2017, I co-founded the Business Agility Institute with Evan Laybourne down in Australia. And that's really centered around providing research and advisory services to organizations that are pursuing this journey to agility. Well, this is me so far. I don't know what the future has for me, but I'm glad to share it with you and glad to share with you what I've learned so far throughout this journey. Thank you.